Thank you, Glenn. I have a microphone here. Can you hear me all right with that? Yep, excellent. I'll start with a question. First of all, would you like to just have a guess at roughly how many businesses started up in the UK last year? Just a rough guess. How many, sorry?
1 million.
Ooh, close. Any other guesses?
50,000? More? 100,000?
It was 900. Well, it was actually just over 900,000 businesses actually started up in the UK last year, which is quite a remarkable statistic actually. And as Glenn mentioned, we've had lots of conversations over some rather nice coffee about people in recovery, because clearly that's the people that we work with, and just the kind of broad mix of people that we support. And I think that's been clarified today in that people in recovery are human. People in recovery come from all sorts of backgrounds. We work with people who are doing PhDs, people who are managing financial institutions, single parents, people that are coming from quite deprived areas, all sorts of people. Which means actually that within our network of people in recovery, there are lots of skills, lots of creative ideas, lots of people with capacities perhaps that sometimes, I don't know if you'd be willing to agree with this, but sometimes perhaps as workers, we might not always recognise that. And people don't necessarily always tell you about their innermost aspirations, particularly when they've had a bit of a tricky time and they've not coped very well. Because if someone's had a bit of a tricky time, well, just how successful are they going to be? The answer is actually very successful. What I'd like you to do just now, if you don't mind, for those that are comfortable to stand or can stand up just for a minute. And I would just, thank you, I would just like you to close your eyes just for a moment. If they all close and relax. Now what I'd like you to do is take away any potential barriers. So here you are, free thinking for the moment. The question is this: if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing? So I'd just like you to have a think about that for a minute. So take yourself away from the daily drudge, take yourself away from that monthly report that's overdue, take yourself away from that funding application, Glenn. Take yourself away from all those things that have been troubling you a little bit. And if you weren't doing what you're doing today, what would you be doing? Lovely. Please take a seat. I was asked that question years ago in a fantastic training course that I attended, and that's kind of stayed with me because that was quite powerful. There I was in a training course with an organisation that I really quite liked working for, and they invested in their staff, they invested in their people, and encouraged us to think just a little bit more. It's not just about the job, it's not just about the house, it's not just about the daily grind that we have to do. It's about having the opportunity to stop just for a minute and just think slightly differently. I'm not actually going to ask any of you to share that, because I think sometimes it's quite nice to keep that to yourself. But I would like you to tell, I would like to tell you about a gentleman that I met quite a long time ago, based in Edinburgh, and his name is Caspian Woods. Now, I often will share this story with people because Caspian Woods was a regular student, quite creative actually. Didn't really quite know what he was going to do when he left university, but he was quite inspired by some of his colleagues, some of the students. At the time in the 90s, it was quite fashionable to start creative organisations that would help businesses promote themselves. Because often businesses can be very strong and very good at what they do, but they're not necessarily all that good at promoting themselves and selling themselves. So Caspian started a company called Can I Hold Your Balls For You? It's a fact. And he was very successful. Now take from that what you will, but that was quite a brave step, I thought. And one of the promotional activities that he did was in Glasgow in a shop in Sauchiehall Street. So the shop had been closed forever, and an organisation said, we're going to take that retail unit on and we're going to start a business, but we really need someone to help us because Glasgow is really competitive. Sauchiehall Street is heaving with shops. How do we get people into our shop? Oh, there's a guy there called Caspian. He's got a business called Can I Hold Your Balls For You? We'll recruit him. Let's see what he does. What did he do? He moved into the shop window, completely open, furniture, bed, kettle. And he lived in the shop. Now, actually, I can't remember exactly how long it was, but I think it was about a week. And within that week, if you can imagine the number of people walking up and down Sauchiehall Street going, there's a bloke living in a shop. Apparently, homeless people were giving him sandwiches through the letterbox. They felt a bit sorry for him. They were feeding him. The press, they were on it. The TV was there, STV. He was on the news. He was in the papers. How successful do you think that launch was? Very successful, very successful. So I think often when we think about people, aspiration, creativity, it was very powerful actually that you mentioned the Nelson Mandela quote earlier on. Sometimes I think the fear of success can be more overpowering than the fear of failure. I've talked to a few people about the idea of working with people in recovery to start their own business. I'm getting mixed views. Yeah, now, Glenn and I sat, a few cups of coffee. Of course, after a few cups of coffee, you're quite excited anyway. But we did run off and sort of explore the ideas that we'd had. What was really exciting was we thought, oh, Dragon's Den, oh, that'd be great. We'll pitch for some fun den. We'll do Dragon's Den. Spoke to a few people about that, particularly service users who went, oh God, no, we can't do that. Can't do it. So I actually got some really valuable feedback from people in recovery. I said, you know, if you were thinking about starting a business, would you pitch like a Dragon's Den style business? And they went, oh, no, not a chance. There are a few reasons for that. We don't need to go into the detail of it because I could be here probably most of the day. And I think when people are in recovery, feeling slightly vulnerable, we don't necessarily want to plunge them, you know, right into the Dragon's Den. So Glenn totally took the feedback on board and sent me a lovely email back saying, okay, headed Dragon's Den, but a lot less dragony. So that's sort of what we're doing at the moment. You'll probably get the gist of the fact that this is very much at the discussion stage. I'm not going to stand here and give you answers, models, examples of successful businesses that we've set up with people in recovery. We're right at the kind of blank page stage, really. And to be fair, that's why I'm here today, because the idea was to let you know what we're thinking about, have a little workshop this afternoon, talk about potential barriers, what's good, what's bad, what do we need to consider, because it really is about making sure that if we do start to support people in business setup, that they do have levels of support that are appropriate to their needs. Ultimately, a lot of people, as you will know, coming through recovery are very strong, very focused, and a lot of people say, actually, if I'm busy, if I'm focused on something positive, if I'm out there every day feeling that I'm doing something positive to keep me on my recovery journey, that's great. However, I don't really want an element of failure to be creeping into my life just yet. I recognise I'm going to have to face it perhaps at some point, but just not right now. So when we're looking at business startup for people, I think at this point what we'd like to do is just offer a taster for people. So a really nice way to just test the market, test the ideas, share their ideas with people in a very safe environment where people are not going to go, you want to what? So we actually just want to bring people together to talk about the idea of being creative and starting their own business. I've actually made a few notes here about people that I've listened to so far today. As some of you will know, the Sorted project started in 2002, which came very much out of an employability organisation called WorkTrack. So it's seen big changes over the years, and one of the things that I find really exciting now is that the language of recovery is completely different. And I know there's quite a few familiar faces here today that have worked within this network for many years. And I just find it a really optimistic, yes, challenging, let's be realistic, very challenging times, But the attitudes coming from people working in this field and people coming through recovery are so much more positive and speaking in a language that really reaches me, and I think on a human level, which is that, we are all people, and no matter the challenge, we can at least have a go at overcoming it. So I think that if you're involved in the workshop this afternoon, be prepared to just share some ideas, just be honest. Let me know about things that would concern you. If you are in recovery or you are working with people in recovery, what concerns you about people starting their own business in recovery? And see what comes from this. Early days, but I'm quite excited. I hope you are too. And I think we'll keep you posted on how it goes. So thank you for listening.